From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Opposition leaders push for fresh Electoral Act amendment. One Nigeria's democracy faces steep decline. Federal government sets up inquest into death of renowned novelist Chimamanda Adichie's late son. Afghanistan launches attacks against Pakistani military positions in retaliation to strikes by Islamabad in recent days.
In business, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission uncovers price manipulation by local airlines.
And in sports, with 11 matches to go, defending champions Remo Stars hire Usman Abdullah in last-ditch bid to stave off relegation.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. Thank you for joining us. Tonight begins with politics. National opposition parties have called on members to unite against the ruling All Progressive Congress, saying that Nigeria's democracy is facing a steep decline. At a press briefing in Abuja, they say there is a need to dislodge the ruling APC in a bid to address current alleged regression, which is causing untold hardship on citizens and taking a toll on the nation. The meeting had chieftains of the African Democratic Congress, the New Nigeria People's Party, and other opposition political parties, including notable politicians like former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, former President of the Senate David Mark, former Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amaechi, among others.
Democracy in Nigeria is going to lead to the collapse of democracy in Africa, because we are the largest democracy in Africa. I will call other opposition parties that are not here today to make sure that they are part of this movement of the unity of the opposition parties to ensure we restore our democracy.
When I was in government, Buhari wanted electoral reform. So a few ministers went to him, convinced him not to sign, that if he signed, Russia will hack the system and impose the wrong president on us. And he refused to sign. The same people are now shouting electoral reform. So people want to shout for electoral reform.
There's need, very urgent need, for all the opposition parties. Those who are not here today, we're pleading that we all come together to save our dear country. The judiciary is no longer hope of the weak or the poor. We all know insecurity, killings and abductions is worse than even countries at war.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amopitan, has reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to strengthening democratic credibility and transparency during polls by deepening cooperation with resident electoral commissioners across the country. Speaking at a meeting with the commissioners in Abuja, he says that additional safeguards have been introduced into the collation and result transmission process to curb manipulation and improve accountability through the IREV platform. Professor Amopitan also administered the oath of office for a second tenure to Chukwu Joseph, resident electoral commissioner for Abia State, underscoring the commission's focus on continuity and stability in election management.
Continue to navigate the complexities of our political landscape. It is vital that we strengthen the bonds between our commissions. Collaboration and open dialogue are essential as we strive to uphold the tenets of democracy and ensure that our elections are fair, free, fair, and credible. We have identified that the greatest threat to our electoral process is not even the voting at the polling units, but the actual collation of the results at several levels. We have introduced some safeguards to the BIVA system, which is to curb all manner of manipulation on the results that will be transmitted to IREV.
INEC's experience with digital innovations such as the Beavers and IREV platforms offer valuable lessons. We seek dialogue on how CF can adapt appropriate technological tools within existing constitutional and legal frameworks. We firmly believe that institutional cooperation, shared learning, and partnership with development partners will enhance the credibility and integrity of elections at all levels of governance.
Abdulkareem Musa is a legal practitioner. He joins me now for another look at the quest by opposition coalition to see to a fresh Electoral Act amendment. Thank you very much for joining us. First off, let's establish that the opposition press conference was attended by 2 opposition parties out of about 20 more that we have. Is that important really when we talk about the opposition? And then you look at the proximity to the 2027 election. What is the possibility that their push will see the light of day before then?
So on the issue of the participation of political parties in the Congress, I think the political parties that participated in that Congress constitute the major political parties in terms of population and relevance. And so it is sufficient to maintain a position that can affect the election. And then concerning the time frame as to the proximity of the time that they are demanding an amendment of the Electoral Act, I think that it is very possible to amend the Electoral Act before the next elections. We've seen the Senate amend prominent act like the Police Act in just a day for the benefit of extending the tenure of the former Inspector General of Police. So if the National Assembly could amend the Police Act that has been in existence for a long time in just a day and for the benefit of a single individual, then it is possible to amend the Electoral Act, especially considering the clamor and the demands of the Nigerian people and the stakeholders within this political space.
Okay, even if that possibility is in the realm, is this enough, a press conference, to compel the National Assembly to revisit a subject that was so controversial? Nigerians came out to protest.
As to the action that could be considered as sufficient to demand the attendance of the National Assembly, no, it is sufficient for Nigerians to simply demand. Nigerians did not need to protest for the National Assembly to give credence to the voice of the Nigerian people. So it shows a certain level of recalcitrance on the part of the National Assembly to leave an issue lingering and pay deaf ears to the demands of the Nigerian people. What the National Assembly has failed to understand is that in a democracy, the National Assembly is not the last bus stop, the president is not the last bus stop, but the Nigerian people they are the last bus stop. It is the demands and the yearnings of the Nigerian people that should take the lead. And we must make recourse to the foundation of democracy. I want to make reference to the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence in America, which is the democracy that we copied today, that stated that democracy is the consent. Power or government in a democracy is driven from the consent that is given by the people. And at any point in time, if the people feel dissatisfied with the way the government is being run, the people have the right to demand an alteration and abolition of that government or that system and reinstitute a system which they feel will give effect to their happiness and satisfaction. So Nigerians have protested, Nigerians have held congresses, Nigerians are demanding for an amendment that will reflect their will in the next elections. Anything the Senate is doing right now is contrary to the desire of the Nigerian people, and it is quite unfortunate.
Abdulkareem, some will say, are we not being overly sentimental at this point? Because there was a process in the course of this issue that members of the National Assembly individually voted at some point. And then they also agreed They signed one document today and they amended it and they came back and told us another thing has happened. It was a process. How would we restart it to get them to change the Amendment Act? What would be the process if that possibility is there?
The process of amending the Electoral Act is just as simple and direct as the process of amending any other act. The bill is passed, the bill is raised on the floor of the National Assembly, members deliberate on it. But then let us not discuss the process now. Let us discuss the subject of the yearnings of the Nigerian people, which is that votes should be transmitted electronically so that every Nigerian, irrespective of geographical location, can have access to the votes that are being cast before the election results are declared. Now, this issue is an expert issue. It's an issue that has to do with the agency, INEC. It is within the power of INEC to determine whether they can transmit votes electronically or not. And INEC have said that they have the capacity to transmit votes electronically. And so whatever the National Assembly does, contrary to that decision by INEC, does not represent the true state of events with INEC, because INEC has said they have the power to carry out this particular function that the Nigerian people are demanding them to carry out. So there's no justification for the National Assembly to do anything other than what the Nigerian people have called for and what INEC has demanded. So
Abdulkarim, you've expressed the possibility that we can re-amend that Electoral Act before the 2027 election. What actions must be taken by opposition and invested Nigerians in this matter to push the National Assembly to do what it's needed?
For the opposition parties, I encourage them to stamp their feet on the ground and continue to insist that the right thing is done. Because in law, there is a principle that states that justice must not just be done, but it must be seen by all to be done. In an election and in a democracy where parties are contesting in an election, it is not sufficient that elections is simply conducted. It goes beyond the conduct of elections to show that the election was credible, that all the participants in the election have confidence in the arbiter to which they submit themselves. So the confidence that the opposition parties demonstrate in INEC goes to the root of that election. If I'm going into an election and I am not sure that I'm going to get justice or that the election will be free and fair, then you cannot say that the outcome of the election is just.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Abdulkarim, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me today.
Coming up still tonight, with the appointment of new Inspector General of Police, Nigerians hope for a better welfare for officers and a sharp drop in corruption. Details of this and more when we return. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Opposition leaders push for fresh Electoral Act amendment, while Nigeria's democracy faces steep decline. Federal government sets up inquest into death of renowned novelist Chimamanda Adichie's late son. Afghanistan launches attack against Pakistani military opposition in retaliation to strikes by Islamabad in recent days. With rising public concern over corruption, police welfare, state policing and justice reform, Nigerians are asking a critical question. Can trust be rebuilt between citizens and a force sworn to protect them? News Central's flagship advocacy program presents a special 2026 edition of A Place at the Table, bringing key stakeholders together to confront one central theme. Is the police your friend? Igbalani Omoni reports.
It was a tense but necessary conversation. At the table, social advocate, policy analyst and the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command, Moshood Jimoh. The discussion opened with one of the force's most controversial issues, corruption, and allegations of intimidation.
Because you can get to the police station and get into trouble by being there also. Let me give an example.
Nigeria should not be worried. This is your own police. But we didn't say we are saint that our personnel will not have one lapses or the other. But we shouldn't capitalize on that. Let us report it to the appropriate authority and ensure that justice is done. And which we have done in so many days.
I went on a solo protest on the...
From the studio live audience, questions around police responses to protest and the growing trust gap with young Nigerians emerged.
Why is it that when the police here protests, they're very quick to come out?
We agree with the right that you have the right to protest to everything, but we don't want it to be hijacked. So we've been dialoguing with the youth, and we will continue to do that. We can't solve all the problem in one day. We take them one after the other.
And they're my friends.
Funding gaps and poor welfare in the police were also highlighted.
Police itself is a victim. The police deserve sympathy. An average policeman has been demeaned completely. He has been made to look like a beggar. He has to buy his uniforms. He has to buy everything. When we joined the police, they were providing, as an officer from the rank of inspector and above. The new Inspector General of Police is there. The president believed in him.
And we know government of today, they have taken on all the police institutions for innovation. And special committee have been set up for all aspects that needed to be reformed, to be rehabilitated, and to be re-engineered.
The debate then turned to state policing.
Nigeria police is not going to disappear, but the reality is that at the point right now, the model we have in Lagos must be replicated. Because the reason why Lagos works is not because for whatever reason Lagos is special. It's because the state as an institution is invested, and not just the state, the private sector. There's the police trust fund in Lagos, all right, that is also putting in money.
As the program draws to a close, the focus shifted from accusations to solutions. Beyond asking if the police are your friend, the bigger question remains: how do you rebuild trust?
But based on what I know about police and people in Nigeria, I can't trust.
Yeah. Even despite all this resentment, despite all this embarrassment from members of the public, when you still go out, you still see the officer committed.
The police can be our friend, but only when they choose to become worthy of our trust.
Because friendship in itself should be a deliberate commitment to the well-being of one another.
Stakeholders agree that transparency, accountability, improved welfare, and community engagement are essential. The real test is implementation.
I'm your servant, but I'm not your slave. Yeah.
In Lagos 4 News Central, Igbalani Omani.
Right. The appointment of a new acting Inspector General of Police has sparked widespread reactions across the country, with many expressing cautious optimism over strategies to tackle insecurity, while some acknowledge the president's constitutional power to appoint the police chief. Others have questioned the pattern of appointing junior officers over their more senior counterparts. Our correspondent Idong Joseph has more in this report.
From the busy streets of Abuja to social media platforms, conversations are centered on the expectations from the newly appointed Acting Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu. And for many Nigerians, his appointment represents an opportunity to build on the gains of his predecessor, while for others, there is, however, skepticism about whether anything will significantly change in the fight against insecurity.
At least what the other one, where come out, where the place where no evil reach, where there's a capacity where no sea reach, so make this one do more than that.
We expect maximum security in the country.
Even though they bring the new military director, military chief, the same thing that happened will happen. So whether a new IG or old one, the same insecurity will continue to happen.
Beyond public expectations, Disu's appointment has also drawn scrutiny over the recurring practice by successive administrations of appointing inspectors general of police who are not necessarily the most senior officers in the force.
Legally, constitutionally, the president has all the powers and the right to appoint whoever he feels that will be able to help him to interpret or to carry his mandate to Nigerians. But still, Nigerians also have the freedom, the constitutional right, their civic duty to scrutinize.
While the law empowers the president to appoint any serving officer he deems fit, bypassing senior officers often trigger early retirements, internal restructuring, and speculations within the force.
There are a lot of brilliant DIG that could have taken over. It may be sometimes the reason that being at that position of seniority close to the IG, you're already in tune, or you already have a mindset of what, if there are mistakes that the IG did, you guys did it together.
Remember, the Police Service Commission is the HR body of the police, was fined 40 million naira for compulsory retiring someone because his junior became there. So, and I don't know what is in the mind of the current people that will be forced to retire. If you want to go to court, I've already told you about the case.
As Tunji Disu assumes leadership of the Nigeria Police Force, many say the real test will be whether the new administration can win public trust and effectively address insecurity across the country. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Thank you, Idong. Let's turn now to a public affairs analyst, Achike Chude, for his perspective on the police reforms, if you say so, that we're witnessing now. Corruption, welfare, infrastructure, new leadership. Welcome. The commissioner was at a place at the table here at News Central, and the conversation was robust. And highlights of it was welfare, infrastructure, trust deficit. Let's start with that before we talk about the leadership. Bridging that trust deficit is important. Let's hear your thoughts.
Trust is not something you build in a day. This is an institution that has been there for decades, just like Nigeria itself. Of course, there are some people that will tell you that if you want to locate the problems of the Nigerian police, you need to go back pre-independence and how the British, set up the police force. Today's the predecessors of today's police force started as the Hausa constabularies and that to carry out the interest of the British Empire, and then, of course, had a different kind of orientation, not an orientation for an independent state, for a people that free, but an orientation that was geared towards satisfying colonial interests. And so you had some of this, had a different kind of need, a different kind of motivation, from the very, very beginning. And so over time after independence, of course, obviously, we wanted to have a completely different police force, but the orientation was already placed. And so there was a need for reforms. And you talk about reforms have been ongoing for decades. Sometimes every new administration wants to look to reform the Nigerian police. And so they embark upon a series of reforms, but at the end of the day, we are to the same situation. And so the police has not essentially changed so much. The citizens have not come trust them,
I think that the question will now be, with this new leadership, how would that trust deficit be addressed? This man comes with over 3 decades of experience in the police force, and he has said welfare, the people is first. Is this just the rhetoric of a new appointee, or there is a possibility from what we know of his experience in the police?
There is a saying, there's a question that people sometimes ask, a rhetorical question. Does the monk make the cloth, or does the cloth, make the monk? And so, yes, a new Inspector General of Police, but see, the Inspector General of Police is coming into a system that's already in existence. And that system already has its negativities, its deficits. For instance, you want to talk about reform. Yes, you're reforming the mindset, you're reforming, the ideological orientation of the police force. But at the same time, reform cannot be done, cannot, be carried out without necessary funds. You know, for this country, sometimes when you want to talk about housing deficit, they tell you that we have serious housing deficit. We need about 10 million houses to meet up the housing of Nigeria. Infrastructure, like health, they tell you the health sector needs 3 trillion. I mean, you know, supposedly. And so when it comes to the police, everybody says, yes, the police are underfunded, but nobody ever put, I'm not aware that anybody has ever put a figure to the revision of the police, because it's not about reforming the mindset of the Nigerian police. Reform also needs infrastructure reform, social reform, wealth reform, all of those things that you have talked about. How do we need to reform the police? Is it 10 trillion? Is it 11 trillion? Is it 12 trillion? Then if we're not able to get even that money, can we say, okay, let us manage half of the money, the 5 trillion or 6 trillion, all that, and you realize the money is not there. The money is not there for education, the money is not there for healthcare infrastructure, for health infrastructure in Nigeria, the money is not there for road infrastructure, the money is absolutely not there for security, whether for military or for the police. So it is good. People talk about this for reform and the rest. But you need to put your mouth sometimes where your mouth is, and do not think that we have what it takes. The system is weak. You know, the institutional states are weak. And so whatever we do, we must remember that there's a test, you know, into this IG has been introduced. And so it's going to be a very order for him to make the necessary changes that he would have wanted to make.
Thank you very much. We have to cut the interview short just a tad bit. We appreciate your time with us tonight. News just reaching us says the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has adjusted the electoral timetable for 2027 general elections. The commission fixed Saturday, January the 16th, 2027 for presidential and National Assembly elections. INEC had earlier announced that the presidential and National Assembly elections would take place on February 20, 2027, while the governorship and state houses of assembly polls were scheduled for March 6, 2027. National Commissioner, Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Mohammed Haruna, in a statement issued Thursday, said the governorship and state houses of assembly elections will now hold on Saturday, February 6, 2027. Still ahead, Hillary Clinton resumes Epstein hearing after photo leak disruption. This and more after the break. Technology giant Samsung has unveiled the Galaxy S26 Ultra, its most advanced smartphone yet, featuring a fully AI-integrated experience. News Center's Placidia Iwekulie was at the launch.
Imagine a phone that anticipates your needs before you even realize them. Let's meet the Galaxy S26 series.
At an exclusive launch in Lagos, tech enthusiasts, partners and industry stakeholders gathered to witness Samsung's Galaxy AI, which the company says ushers in a new era of mobile innovation.
I present to you our newest miracle baby, Samsung Galaxy S26 series.
The S26 Ultra features AI-driven tools, including real-time translation, smarter photography, productivity assistance, and personalized automations designed to make everyday digital tasks faster and more intuitive.
We very happy to deliver this high technology to Nigerian people. So we will continue develop our technology to help to Nigeria.
This Galaxy S26 series represents one of the most, the biggest leaps for us in Galaxy. While it's providing assistance to you with the press of just a button on the side, it provides assistance for you while you continue doing your work on the device. So ensuring continuous workflow. And then one of my personal favorites, which is with the privacy display screen. Amazing, where even if you're standing shoulder to shoulder, people can't see what's on your screen once you activate it. And even if you do not activate it, when you get into certain apps, sensitive apps like your banking apps that require your password, it automatically makes your screen darker such that people can see what's on your screen. Fantastic. So there's so many things, many improvements really in this new generation.
Samsung says the device reflects a global shift toward intelligent user-centered technology.
This is a device that has broken the friction between intention and action. So with this, we are very certain that we are moving from a 600 million user of AI phone to about 800 million users globally. We are offering every end user opportunity to make their life easier.
In the area that we're in, of course, we are all security conscious, especially now that we're talking about AI functionality, the cameras and the like. So security is very, very, very important. And because of that, we prioritize our technology. We ensure that our technology is well fortified. I mean, of course, beneficial to users as well. So some of the features in terms of security that we've done is the ability to actually process your device, your data, right on your phone and decide whether or not you want it to go to the cloud. And even when you eventually decide to, take your data up there to the cloud, of the device is automatically end-to-end protected. So you've got nothing to worry about. You're actually safe.
The launch highlights a move towards smarter, more secure and personalized digital experiences expected to transform how people work, communicate and interact with technology.
Galaxy S26 series, ladies and gentlemen.
In Lagos, 4 News Central, Placidia Ibo Ekuni.
Many thanks, Placidia. Afghanistan says it has launched retaliatory attacks against Pakistan following recent airstrikes along their disputed border, raising fears of a wider conflict. Afghan officials say forces attacked Pakistani military positions along the Durand Line after airstrikes earlier this week that Pakistan said targeted militants. Kabul claims more than a dozen Pakistani army posts were captured and dozens of soldiers killed or detained. Let's tell you now that testimonies by former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in a congressional inquiry linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has resumed after a brief suspension caused by a leaked photograph from the closed-door session. Clinton told lawmakers she has no information about Epstein's crimes and does not recall ever meeting or speaking with him. In her opening remarks, she criticized the Republican-led House Oversight Committee, describing the proceedings as a partisan political theater and urging investigators to invite President Donald Trump to testify. Former President Bill Clinton is expected to appear before lawmakers on Friday. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment news. Stay with us.
Talking business now, Nigeria's consumer watchdog, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, has uncovered signs of possible price manipulation by some domestic airlines, particularly during the December 2025 festive season. An interim review found ticket fares surged sharply across several routes despite stable cost drivers such as fuel prices, taxes, and exchange rates. Authorities say the pricing patterns appear driven by arbitrary decisions, including seat capacity management rather than genuine cost pressures. The Commission noted that on some routes, fares differed by as much as 400 and 5,000 naira between peak and post-holiday periods, and further investigation is ongoing to determine if competition rules were breached. And looking at stocks now, the NGX slipped further as the all-share index declined 0.41% to close at 193,567.81, mildly pulling market capitalization down to 124.23 trillion naira. Well, activity also softened noticeably with volume down about 37%, turnover was about 31%, and deals easing to about 1%, suggesting a quieter but still cautious session. We look at sectoral performance, starting with the banking sector. We see that it fell 0.63% as mild profit taking continue to keep the sector under pressure. Well, insurance dipped also 0.32%, and oil and gas edged up 0.12%, showing pockets of resilience, particularly in counters like Aradel, that helped the sector stay afloat. Consumer goods edged down 0.03%, and industrial goods also dropped 1.19%, with weakness in Dangote Cement weighing more heavily this time and amplifying the index's decline. That's it on business. I am Lekon Obanjo.
Football League defending champions, the Remo Stars, have confirmed the appointment of Usman Abdallah as the club's new technical advisor. The appointment takes immediate effect, and according to Remo Stars, it represents a major step in the club's strategic drive to enhance performance and achieve greater success. Remo Stars are currently second from bottom in the league with 11 matches to go, and the appointment of Abdallah is expected to revive the hopes of the team. Abdallah had a long playing career that saw him play for multiple clubs on 3 continents. He is regarded as one of Nigeria's most talented and qualified coaches, earning an HND in chemical engineering from Kaduna State Polytechnic and UEFA A license from the English Football Association. He led Enyimba to the semi-finals of the CAF Confederations Cup and won the league title with Kano Pillars. Nigeria's senior women's national team, the Super Falcons, have increased their squad to 17 players as preparations intensify for their upcoming friendly against Cameroon's indomitable Lionesses in Yaoundé. The latest arrivals include Rinsola Babajide, Shukurat Oladipo, and Folashade Ijamilusi join an initial group of 11 players who reported earlier. Among them, Captain Rashida Tajibade, Monday Gift, Ngozi Kobi Okegene, Uluwatosin Dimei, and Christy Uchiibe. Forwards Favor Nwokocha and Esther Onyenezide, alongside defender Kafayat Shitu, who were not part of the original 23-player list released by the Nigeria Football Federation, have also joined the team. Nigeria will aim to extend a strong record against Cameroon, having won 15 of 21 previous encounters, including a 2-0 victory in the last meeting in Abeokuta. Now, the Gabonese Football Federation has unveiled a 3-man shortlist for the vacant head coach position of the national team known as the Panthers. The federation confirmed that it received a total of 605 applications for the national team job. After a comprehensive review process, which included an initial screening and individual interviews with selected candidates, 3 finalists have emerged. The profiles of the shortlisted coaches will now be forwarded to the Minister of Sports, Paul Kisani, for final consideration. The 3 candidates still in contention are Regis Boguet, former assistant to Aliou Cisse with Senegal, Frederick Bompard, who recently managed Nimes and Sochaux, and Anthony Da Silva, who served as assistant coach of Cameroon between 2019 and 2022. And that's all on Sports Updates. I am Udoka Njoko.
Tonight in the world of entertainment, the Lagos State Coroner Court has set April the 14th, 2026 for the formal inquest into the death of 21-month-old Nkanu Nnamdi, the son of acclaimed writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and her husband. Magistrate Atinuke Adetunji adjourned proceedings after preliminary hearings at the Yaba Magistrates Court, directing all parties, including the family, the Lagos State government, and hospitals involved, to file witness statements ahead of the substantive hearing. Nkanu died on January 7, 2026 after receiving treatment at Atlantis Hospital and undergoing diagnostic procedures at Iraqi Multi-Specialist Hospital in Lagos. Now on the foreign scene, Helen Folashade, popularly known as Shade Adu, the Grammy-winning Nigerian-born British singer, known for hits like Smooth Operator and The Sweetest Taboo, has earned a second nomination for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the class of 2026. Shade, now 67, is listed among 17 nominees spanning multiple genres from rock to R&B in a diverse ballot that also includes first-time contenders and returning nominees. Final inductees will be chosen by music industry professionals with the official list of honorees to be announced in April 2026 ahead of a fall induction ceremony. Now that's it on entertainment news for today. My name is Kate Adeogun.
We told you earlier that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has adjusted the electoral timetable for 2027 general polls, fixing Saturday, January the 16th for presidential and National Assembly elections. INEC had earlier announced that the presidential and National Assembly elections would take place on February 20, 2027, while the governorship and the state houses of assembly polls were scheduled for March 6, 2027. National Commissioner, Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Mohammed Haruna, in a statement issued Thursday, said the governorship and state houses of assembly elections will now hold on Saturday, February the 6th, 2027. And that's our offering tonight. As always, would appreciate your feedback. Please share them using the numbers showing now on your screen. We are on social media as well at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.